Here at the Barroom, our growing list of shows begins with outstanding Chicago Bears coverage. Former Bears scouting director Greg Gabriel and sports reporter David Schuster begin and end the week with analysis and uncensored opinion. You can't tailgate at Soldier Field, but you can do it virtually every day before game time on the Barfly Tailgate Show. After every Bears game, the passion is unleashed on our Bear Football Show, which you can find on our YouTube channel and social media pages. Midweek, get a comprehensive update on the Bears' upcoming opponent with Buffon 55. Also on Hump Day, make sure you check out Dan and Aldo bare their souls. It's penance for Bears fans. We all know winning teams are built through the NFL Draft, and that's why Draft on Tap is a must for Bears fans. The best way to win your fantasy football season is by listening to Tuesday's Fantasy Football Goon Show. Want to win more money and be entertained by the great Mike North? He's here at the Barroom. Mike isn't the only Chicago sports radio icon at the Barroom. Join Les Grobstein and David Schuster as they take you on a whole new dimension in sports talk. And there's David and Mark Shanowski, two of the absolute best NBA reporters in Chicago. They keep you up to date on all the Bulls happenings with sharpshooters. The Cubs are covered like their field during a rain delay with the new Friendly Confines show. Whether you're a sports collector or not, you'll enjoy stuff your mom threw out. Just don't tell mom. Don't be in the dark on what's happening on Netflix, HBO, and all the other streaming networks. Check out I Have a Stream. And that's not all. We're adding new shows all the time here on the Barroom Network.
You're listening to the Ballroom Network. The following program is intended for all audiences. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Goon Podcast with your hosts, Joe Mandel, the Goon, and John Santucci, the Tooch. We're bringing you the fantasy football knowledge that you need every single week.
Derrick Henry still going. Stays in bounds. He might go. 99 yards for the touchdown. Unbelievable.
Flushed out again, all the way back. Turning the corner, fires downfield. Caught. Touchdown. Only Mahomes turns what might have been a 15-yard sack into a 27-yard touchdown.
Saquon Barkley across midfield, down the sideline, stayed in bounds, and Barkley takes it all the way. 68 yards for his first NFL touchdown. McCaffrey right up the middle, and he is gone for the touchdown. 58 yards. Pass is to Thomas. He's gone. Touchdown Saints.
Okay, it's time for the easiest part of any coach's job, the cut. Now, while I wasn't able to cut everyone I wanted to, I have cut a lot of you. Steven, I like your hustle. That's why it was so hard to cut you. Congratulations, the rest of you made the team. Except you, and you.
God bless fantasy football. There are many things a man can do with his time. And this, better than those things.
Oh, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Goon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mandel, the Goon, and joining me, as always, is one of my co-hosts and good buddy, John Santucci, the Tooch. Tooch, what's going on, brother?
I wish I could say I was doing well, Joe, but week 4 was the worst week of my fantasy football career.
It was one of your worst weeks of fantasy football career.
Oh,
And Tooch, it was also a bad day, too, for the music industry, wasn't it,
yes.
Tooch?
I saw what you did there. Yep, that was great. Great tribute at the beginning there.
Yeah, sad
Yep.
news to report. Today we lost a guitar hero, if there ever was a guitar hero.
Yeah.
It is the famed, amazing guitarist Eddie Van Halen, dead way too young at 65, Tooch. Man, we had to open it up with Running with the Devil, because why wouldn't we?
Yeah, Eddie inspired me to learn how to play guitar. So there's millions of kids around the world who heard Van Halen play guitar and wanted to pick up the guitar and learn it. So yeah, irreplaceable, distinctive sound, for sure. Just no one like him.
Absolutely, brother. No one like him. And there's no sport quite like fantasy football, Tooch. It gives it and it takes it away very quickly.
Yes,
and as we know, Tooch, everything was taken away from a lot of people last week, where COVID kind of erupted in this league, as well as an explosion of injuries. Am I right?
Yeah, it was the worst week I've ever seen in fantasy football. Just the whole uproar about the COVID-19. And wiped out two teams. So if you had players on those two teams, you were at a disadvantage this week. It was an unexpected, unplanned for bye week. And commissioners around the country, around the world, had to make a decision on whether or not they open up some roster spots to deal with the coronavirus. Just like hospitals have to open up beds and ventilators and stuff like that. We needed extra roster spots, Joe. So some commissioners acquiesced. Others were, kind of dickish, not giving people some extra spots so they could compete.
I dealt with the scenario just like you're talking about, Tooch, and you can let our fine listeners know what kind of commissioner that I am.
Oh, just I always open it up. Yeah, Joe always opens it up for a vote. Which is what a commissioner is supposed to do. It's like, okay, this is an unforeseen circumstance. Let's see what the players are thinking. Let's open up for a vote. Should I add a roster spot so you can move a COVID guy for 1 week and pick somebody up so you can compete? And Joe took the pulse of the leagues that he commissions, and he found that players wanted some extra space for 1 week. We were given a couple extra spots, and it really helped.
Yep, that's right. And, we're going to keep those IR spots. We put it up to a vote, at least for the immediate future, because who knows what's going to happen with COVID. So I implore you, Tooch and I both implore you, talk with your commissioner, get it put up to a vote. If you are a commissioner, take the step forward. You want to win because you're the best, not because of someone that's been absolutely decimated by COVID and injuries on top of it. So just something to think about.
I got to ask you, this is the first season we've used the Sleeper app for our league. And to me, it looked like it was really easy to both take a vote. You could put the vote right into the league chat room and players just click yes or no, and it tallies the vote. And then, after the vote was over, there were 2 spots. So how easy was it, Joe, using Sleeper to get the job done this past week?
It was simple as could be. That's another reason why we should probably talk to Sleeper next season, Tooch, about being a sponsor. But,
yeah.
But honest to God, it's so simple. You could, in your little league chat, it's almost like having a text message with the whole group, and it's just in this app. It's sleek as can be. There's just an add a poll option. You can make a poll, let people vote on it, and it's done. Easy squeezy, done just like that. And then as commissioner, I can go edit those settings. I can add as many IR spots as I want. I can change what kind of players allowed to be on there. Is it COVID? Is it someone that's actually on IR? Or is it somebody that's just listed as out for that week? So in our league, Tooch, we voted that it's COVID and it's someone who's actually on IR. And none of this out player stuff, because that changes week to week.
Right. And they actually had a little after the player's name, COV, which, they were out because of COVID. So Titans players and Steelers players
And Cam Newton now.
And now Cam Newton had a little COV designation. So you could move those guys into that slot.
Absolutely. So COVID is taking the league over. But aside from all the COVID talk, the Titans appear to have no more positive tests, so that's good. It sounds like they'll be playing their game this week. Same thing with the Chiefs. There's been no additional positive tests, and same thing with the Patriots. So things are looking good in that respect. But Tooch, in addition to COVID, there's a lot of injuries. But before we get to the injuries, let's talk about the bye weeks. So bye weeks have begun, Tooch.
Right. 2 teams out on bye, the Packers and the Lions. So just a reminder that if you have guys on either of those teams, get them to the bench. But, that just means another week without Devontae Adams, Joe.
Well, it's good. That's good for Devontae Adams owners because that's the only reason I think he got held out of yesterday's game, too, just because they have that bye week next week. So he gets those 2 weeks to get healthy.
Because they were playing the Falcons.
And because they're playing really well, they don't need him right now, so save him for when he's healthy. I get the decision.
Who needs Devontae Adams when you got Robert Tonyan?
That's right. And for all of you owners out there that own Michael Thomas, you're going to see the same exact situation this week. Everyone's like, "Oh, Michael Thomas is going to come back this week." Michael Thomas and the Saints go on a bye next week. There's no way Michael Thomas is playing this week. So if you own him, that's my theory. I have no inside source. I'm just telling you, if I was running the team, Michael Thomas wouldn't be playing this week. So keep that in the back of your brain.
Okay. So they're playing Monday night, the Saints.
Correct.
I think, and I forget who they're playing. Let's see. We can effort that, Joe.
Yeah, the Saints are playing. It looks like they're playing
the
Chargers.
Yep. So
that'll be a good one. That'll be a good one on Monday night. But I really don't think that Michael Thomas plays. We'll see. But before we get on to the injuries, let's talk a little bit about. There's one player that you're going to really want to replace this week if you're on bye. I mean, not a lot of people have Stafford starting every week. Not a lot of people have various Packers aside from Aaron Jones, and assuming you drafted a running back as a backup. But in terms of quarterback replacements, most people, at least a lot of people, don't draft a backup, Tooch. So what are some options that some people could use to replace Aaron Rodgers this week because he's been so good to start the year?
So a guy that has a great matchup this week is Kirk Cousins, who plays against the Seahawks.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's been lighting up the Seahawks through the air. So, Kirk Cousins, he lit up the Texans through the air last week too. And both of the wide receivers on the Vikings had great games, and Jefferson over 100 yards. I think Thielen went over 100 yards too and had a touchdown or two. And then I would say Justin Herbert, who's looked pretty good. Now, granted, he loses Austin Eckler to injury.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, so they're hurting, but they're playing against the Saints, and Saints, he's got Hunter Henry. Saints are not that good against the tight end.
Yeah, they're horrible against the tight end. So those are 2 great calls, 2 for replacements for Aaron Rodgers. I got 2 other ones. I also have, you gotta really think outside of the box sometimes. And I'm looking at matchups, right? So a guy who exploded last week was Teddy Bridgewater.
Yes.
And he's got we just talked about it. He's playing the Falcons. Anyone that's playing the Falcons, you want to fire him up. So he's going to run with his legs and he's going to throw it through the air. So I like Robbie Anderson. I like, I really like Teddy this week. You got to roll with Teddy. And then if you're really desperate, Tooch, a guy with a great matchup is Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones going against the Cowboys.
That should be a shootout. I mean, Dak Prescott's been throwing 500 yards a game, Joe.
Yeah, and you lose.
And losing as well, yeah. He's I think the NFL record of 3 or 4, was it 3 straight games of over 400 yards?
Yeah, I think he's the only quarterback
ever
to do
four
that.
Straight games. In 4 games in any season, his yardage total, which is like almost 2,000 yards in 4 games, is an NFL record. But yeah, their defense cannot stop anybody, the Cowboys. So Daniel Jones, this is what you've been waiting for. He's had a rough schedule the first 4 games of the season. So
he has. So this is the week to get Daniel Jones fired up, especially in daily fantasy. That's a bargain. Last time I checked, he was hovering somewhere around 6,000 on FanDuel and DraftKings. So you can't beat it. And Logan Lima in the chat room says he just got offered the best trade of his career. The guy lost both quarterbacks, and he traded him Fitzmagic for Cooper Kupp. Nice work, Logan. Very nice work.
Yeah. Which quarterbacks? So Cam Newton probably was one of them, right? I would imagine. And maybe
probably Cam and
Tannehill or Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah,
right?
Could be.
So
yeah, good, nicely done, Logan. Very nice. But Tooch, let's dig into the injuries because there are so many injuries right now.
We could have a whole show of injuries this week.
It's pretty close. It's going to be it's going to be a heavy injury show. And
do we do the quarterbacks first, Joe?
Yeah, let's lead off with the quarterback. So if anyone watched that horrible Thursday night game, I did not watch a single minute of it because I just couldn't get myself to watch it. But Sam Darnold, I watched the replay. Now, he got hurt pretty bad. His shoulder got smacked pretty good. I imagine he's going to be out for at least this week and maybe longer, Tooch.
Did you see his long run?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it was. I didn't know he had that in him. Boy, if Sam Darnold could play like that, he didn't look terrible. I mean, of course, it's the Broncos defense. They're banged up and they haven't been playing well, anyways. But the Sam Darnold shoulder, he's likely out this week, Joe. They're at home against the Cardinals. So
that's I don't think you're going to see him this week. So, and not that anyone's going to start him anyway, but
so is it Joe Flacco who's the backup there? Is that?
I believe Joe Flacco is indeed
Joe
the
Flacco,
backup.
right?
I mean, he played a couple. I think he played 2 snaps last week,
right? So,
and then he went back in the game, Darnold, for some reason. But the real fantasy relevant name on this list too, just Cam Newton.
Yeah,
of course, during this week, last week diagnosed with COVID-19, but I doubt he plays in this game too, depending on how testing goes. You see some people recover very quickly and other people don't. I imagine he'll probably be out for a couple weeks.
He was on a roll, man.
He was.
You hate to see it because I hate to see his stride broken like that, because he was really rolling, man. If you drafted Cam Newton, people were getting him in the 16th round. I mean, you can't get much better of a bargain than that.
I got offered yesterday Cam Newton for Kareem Hunt, and if it was a week ago, I probably would have said yes.
Yeah, and that's another injury. Kareem Hunt has the groin. He's questionable for week 5.
Yeah, we'll get back to the running back shortly.
But with Nick Chubb out 6 weeks, that's I'm sure Kareem Hunt they'll be trying everything to get him back on the field.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt there. And continuing it through the quarterbacks, too. Jimmy Garoppolo also injured. It's always an ankle or a knee with him, and this week it's an ankle.
Yeah, it's 50-50 to return. And they're at home against, who are they playing, Joe? I forget. I don't have a schedule right in front of me. I should have that. They're at home against the Dolphins, so pretty favorable matchup for Garoppolo if he returns. Otherwise, we will see Nick Mullins.
Yeah, I imagine you're going to see Nick Mullins again, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
So that's again, you're not probably starting those guys anyway, but only if you're desperate. I mean, Mullins against the Dolphins could be a sneaky, sleepy pick for sure.
I like Nick Mullins. He didn't play that well last week, though, against the Eagles.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
It was bad. Drew Lock also banged up too with that shoulder still. That's a guy that's, he's also on that 50-50, going to play, not going to play. But again, you're probably not starting him in fantasy anyway. And then Tyrod Taylor still screwed up from that pierced lung from his team doctor, which is absolutely insane. I imagine he'll be week to week, but that's a rough injury.
So, I know that it's not – I mean, it wasn't his fault that he was stabbed by the team doctor, but I don't think he should – I mean, how do you take Justin Herbert out? I mean, Justin Herbert throws a really pretty deep ball. He's got a cannon for an arm, does some running. I mean, I know Tyrod Taylor does some running, but man, I just a Tyrod Taylor, you know what you're going to get, veteran leadership. But Justin Herbert, man, let the Justin Herbert era begin. What do you think? Should Tyrod Taylor come back and be the starter? Would you?
It's rough, man, because I think given the circumstances that the Chargers doctor screwed up, I think if you're the Chargers, I think you got to put Tyrod in for at least one game because otherwise it looks even worse. I do think Justin Herbert should take over, but, right now he's playing lights out. He looks like a chiseled veteran out there. He's so cool, calm, and collected. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. The Chargers are what, 2-2 or 1-3?
Yeah, they're 1-3, I believe. I think they. I don't think Justin Herbert has won a game except.
Right. Yeah, they're 1-3. So yeah, he's 0-3, and Tyrod Taylor's 1-0. Right. Yeah, they're 1-3. So, I mean, I guess you could make that excuse, but
you could, but you got to give the guy an honest shake at it. So I think he'll be back, but eventually this is Herbert's team. There's no doubt about it.
I think he scored like 23 fantasy points or more in each of his games, something like that.
In one of my leagues, Herbert this week got me 49 points because of the scoring. So,
right.
I mean, I love it. You can't go wrong there, Tooch. But let's move on to injuries for running backs.
Yeah, some big ones, Joe.
Yeah, why don't you run us through these? There's a lot of them.
Well, there's two big ones, Joe. Nick Chubb has hurt his knee. He's out 6 weeks, and you're looking at Kareem Hunt and Dearness Johnson. We'll talk about Johnson in the waivers.
We will.
And then Austin Eckler, who looked like he was in some serious pain. His hamstring looked like he was really hurting. He was put on IR. He is likely out up to 6 weeks. So you're looking at Joshua Kelly. If you picked up Kelly, I mean, there's also Justin Jackson, who's been in the system a little bit longer than Joshua Kelly, who's a rookie. So it'll be interesting to see which running back takes the lead there. I mean, Justin Jackson will probably be a pretty big waiver wire pickup. I mean, Joshua Kelly, I think, is the better running back.
It's Kelly's job, but Jefferson will be supporting. I agree. That's why you got to pick him up.
Yeah, Jackson. Yeah, he's. I mean, he had some flashes last year, but then when Gordon was out, he didn't do anything. So
no. So yeah, it's a tricky one, and Chris Carson was a guy last week, Tooch, that was out with the knee, and then he came back this week and he had a great game.
Yep. And then he got a concussion.
Yeah, so who knows what's going on with Chris Carson? You got to watch.
He could be out. And a lot of people rushed and picked up Carlos Hyde, who was also didn't play. So you're looking at Travis Homer, Joe. Travis Homer might be a good waiver wire pickup. So we'll talk about him too. So.
Yep, and the aforementioned Kenyon Drake, the invisible man, Tooch, the guy who's done absolutely nothing, is fighting some sort of mystery injury. But Tooch, we were talking about this before the show.
Yeah.
In a walking boot before the season, clearly this guy just can't get healthy.
Yeah, and before the season, he had an injury and was stayed out a little bit, the latter part of the training camp. Period. And then the team and everyone, he and the team both said, I'm okay, ready to go. But again, if you're a fantasy player, walking boots should be an omen, Joe. And I'm one who ignored it. I've got a couple shares of Kenyon Drake, and I've been getting burned by him past couple weeks. He's had fantastic matchups. Now their offensive line is terrible. The play calling has been terrible, and it seems like they want to get Kyler Murray running a bit more, and then
that team looks horrible too.
Drake looks slow. So Chase Edmonds, I think if you own Chase Edmonds, you better hold on to him. If he's out there on the waiver wire, you better grab him, because I think he looks fast. He looks like everything you're supposed to do in that offense.
Yeah, Chase Edmonds for sure. And I'll quick hit through the rest of the injuries because we have so many to cover.
Yes, quick hit.
We'll go quick hit. Kareem Hunt dealing with a groin injury, questionable going into the next week.
Yep.
Leonard Fournette dealing with an ankle injury. They have a quick turnaround. They're playing the Bears on Thursday night. Bruce Arians said today that he's going to be a game-time decision.
Yep.
So watch out for Leonard Fournette. LaShawn McCoy also dealing with an ankle injury. He's substantially older than Leonard Fournette, so I expect him to not play in that game. Le'Veon Bell, Tooch, he looks like he's probably coming back off IR. I don't like any Jets right now, so I don't even think I would start him. But
I don't know, man. I wouldn't mind owning Le'Veon Bell for the rest of the season if I might target him in a trade.
If the price is right, for sure.
It's just running backs are so scarce. I mean, if Le'Veon Bell's been gone since week 1, so he was injured in the week 1 game. But there's so many other injuries. Le'Veon Bell is, probably a pretty good running back 2 option with all these injuries. I'm just saying.
You can get him for cheap for sure. So keep an eye on him. Raheem Mostert's been dealing with a knee injury, but it looks like, knock on wood, he should be back. He's been practicing. Philip Lindsay, who's had a toe injury the last couple of weeks, Tooch. He looks like he's also going to be coming back. Sony Michel, who's got a quad injury, was placed on injured reserve. So it looks like you're going to be without Sony Michel for at least the next 3 weeks.
Yep, he'll be out. And
then Cam Akers, dealing with a rib injury. He's going to be questionable, but it looks like he's trending towards returning, Tooch.
Should be back. He's that just confuses the Rams' backfield even more, Joe, because we all thought Darrell Henderson was the guy, and Malcolm Henderson came back, and he was the guy. I mean, Malcolm Brown. Sorry, Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson. So maybe we need a Malcolm Henderson, Joe.
Well, that's what the backfield is right now.
Right now you got a backfield of Malcolm Henderson. I think you got to add an Akers in there too.
That's right. You got that drum roll.
I don't know if they're ever going to decide on a guy. I think Cam Akers might be the most talented guy, but he's also the most injured one right now. And then Darrell Henderson has been looking great. He's got a lot of speed, but for some reason they wanted to go with a more steady veteran. So they put they were trying to kill the clock. They handed it off to Malcolm Brown a bunch of times and just frustrated the hell out of fantasy managers, Joe.
Oh, that's what happens. You know how it goes. And then Zach Moss also banged up with a toe injury. It looks like he's probably going to be out this week. So keep your eye on that situation.
Yeah.
A quick hit through the wide receivers. We're going to hit these quick because we got to get the waivers and start and sit. Julio Jones, Tooch. He re-injured his hamstring, did not come back in the game.
Might be out next week. So
looks like it.
Monitor that.
Devontae Adams, the Packers are on a bye this week, so I look for him to come back next week.
Yep.
And to be a top 5 start the rest of the way.
Yep.
Michael Thomas, we talked about at the beginning of the show, playing Monday night, but they have a bye next week.
Right.
I imagine Michael Thomas is going to take another week to get healthy, but we'll wait and see what happens there.
Yeah. So you think it's possible where he could be on the sidelines and maybe not play, but be available in case, they're losing against the Chargers?
Well, I think if he's active, he's going to play. So I think they'd have to make him active before the game starts. The thing that still baffles me, and I know I'm running over time, but Michael Thomas, they did not put on the IR, but he sat out for 3 weeks. So it just seems like a miss by the Saints. I don't know why.
They could have. Yep, exactly.
They didn't put him on IR because I traded Julio Jones for him, which I look genius now. But
yeah, it looks great now. AJ Brown, Joe?
Yeah, AJ Brown also banged up, but looks like he's supposed to come back, too.
Oh, it's great news for fantasy managers.
Yep, and Laviska Shenault. Laviska Shenault, the stud rookie.
Started to emerge.
Yeah, he started to emerge, and he's dealing with a hamstring, Tooch.
Yeah, he's day-to-day as well. We'll have to check the injury report, see if he practices Friday. Laviska Shenault, the guy I loved in the draft.
Yep, and Chris Godwin, Thursday night, going against the Bears, dealing with a hamstring, Tooch. He's looking like doubtful for that game.
Yeah, probably will not play Thursday. So another week without Chris Godwin, and Scotty Miller is his replacement.
Yep, and your guy Deontay Johnson, Tooch, for the Steelers, was out with a concussion last week, but it looks like he should be trending back.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to use him much. He left a game. My first game I had him, a concussion, and then missed a game with that unforced bye. So he had the he was forced to go on bye last week because of the COVID. So the Steelers didn't play last week.
Yep, in the off injured Alshon Jeffrey is questionable for this week, so he might finally play a game. Deshaun
Sneaky
Jackson,
if he's out there, sneaky pickup, Joe.
Very
sneaky. They got nobody. Carson Wentz didn't look too bad this past week, so
he's looking better. And Deshaun Jackson, another Eagle, hamstring, he's questionable as well. Yep. Adam Humphries too. He's got COVID-19.
Yeah,
he's questionable.
Pretty well.
But I don't think he'll be playing. I would be shocked if he played.
Yep.
Same thing with Mike Williams dealing with a hamstring, questionable. Henry Ruggs, instead of doubtful, he's finally questionable with a hamstring. Yep. I expect him to go because of that questionable tag being upgraded. And then Brian Edwards, the Raider, he's dealing with an ankle. He's also questionable. Tons of injuries, tons of hamstrings.
I think we saw Nelson Aguilar catch a touchdown in that game, Joe. He's no longer an Eagle; he's a Raider now. So, just folks, if you are wondering where Nelson Aguilar, why would you? But he is on the Raiders. So.
Yep, Tooch. And before we get to the tight end injuries, we got a tight end question in the chat.
Okay, here we go.
Izzy 1972. I was offered Zach Ertz for CD Lamb, full PPR. Would you do it? The only healthy tight end I have is Logan Thomas. Well, for me, Zach Ertz is finally showing his. I can't advise you to make that deal because CD Lamb is going to be so good the rest of the season. I'm not touching Zach Ertz right now. Tooch, would you agree?
I would not make that trade because Zach Ertz doesn't look like he can get open anymore, and their offensive line is terrible. I mean, Dallas is throwing the ball, 50, 60 times a game. So you have to, I would stick and ride CD Lamb. You have that second, third wide receiver locked up, more of a third wide receiver. But I would try. There's got to be other tight ends out there, right now.
Tooch, that's the move. Is you got to look. Yeah. You got to hope Robert Tonyan's out there, and you put all your eggs on him.
Yep, Tonyan is probably out. We'll get to the waivers in a second. It will help Izzy find a tight end out there. I got some good ones on the list. And
running quickly through the tight end injuries, O.J. Howard tore his Achilles. He's out for the season. That's a blow for them. Stock up for Gronkowski for sure. Yeah. Who's been dropped in a lot of leagues, so he'll be an option. Noah Fant, Tooch, dealing with an ankle injury. He's going to be out this week.
He was having a great season too, Joe.
He sure was. And Jared Cook for the Saints, he's dealing with a groin injury. He'll be questionable for Monday night. Yep. Having that late game on Monday, though, helps his status, so that could be a potential play this week. Dallas Goedert, the other Eagles tight end, he's dealing with an ankle injury. He's questionable this week.
Yeah.
Jordan Atkins has got a concussion. He's questionable. Tyler Eifert, another tight end with a concussion, although Tyler Eifert's always hurt. He's questionable. And Jordan Reed, knee and ankle. I believe he was placed on IR too. He's going to be out for a while.
Okay. Yeah. Jordan Aiken's a guy that he's starting to emerge. He has been. So the concussion is bad news. But, we'll get to the waivers, Joe.
We will. And before we get to the waivers, Tooch, actually, we're going to take a quick commercial break.
Yeah.
And this is, we're going to hear from the Sharpshooters podcast. This is really good stuff. So take a listen and make sure you tune in on the Barroom Network podcast stream. So here's a little bit from Sharpshooters.
Some of the young guys, I'm sure along the way, have gotten into some bad habits because you're on a team that loses all the time. With Zach, it was always, how many points can I score? Can I make the all-star team? Can I get some individual recognition? I'm sure Billy's going to get him in a face-to-face conversation and say, you're a prolific scorer, and we love everything about that, but this is what you need to do for us to win games. And if Zach is sincere about all the good things in basketball come through winning, he'll make those changes. If not, he'll probably be moved along to another team.
Zach, by the way, will be playing in his 7th year in the NBA upcoming for his 6th coach.
That's not good.
That blows me away just to even hear it. I mean, I knew about it, but 6 coaches in 7 years? Wow.
And he's never had a winning season. Never experienced that in the NBA. So he is like this raw lump of clay, and I think that Billy wants to mold him into a winning player because the physical gifts are off the charts. I'm a big Zach LaVine fan. I know you are as well. Yeah. I think that this is a guy that can be a really important piece on a team that can try to accomplish some lofty things. I know some Bulls fans think that he should be moved along. I think this is a guy that you want to keep on your roster.
Shanowski, Schuster, two of Chicago's most accomplished NBA reporters, sharpshooters.
New episodes every week on the Barroom Network.
How about that, Tooch? Bark, Shanowski, David Schuster, talking Bulls. You can't beat it, man.
I got to tell you, those commercials for the Barroom Network are awesome, man. Whoever's behind the scenes there making those videos, those are slick, man. The opening one was killer, and this last Sharpshooters one was really good as well, man.
Props to the video master, Aldo Gandia. Yeah. So well done, Aldo. Good job. Tune in every week to the Sharpshooters podcast. Don't miss it, as well as all the other great shows on the Barroom Network. And Tooch, let's get into waivers. Who should you be placing a waiver pick for?
How about we do the tight ends first for Izzy?
We did them, didn't we?
Not yet.
Yeah. Oh, not for yet. Waivers. Sorry.
For waivers. Yeah, let's do the tight ends first.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about tight end injuries. I'm like, we just talked tight end injuries.
Tight end waivers. Yeah.
All right, Tooch.
Well, I got a couple. I would. Robert Tonyan's the obvious one because he just exploded.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns, man.
But the Packers are on a bye this week, so doesn't do you that much good. But Eric Ebron has got a great schedule for tight ends coming up. So think about Eric Ebron. If Dalton Schultz is probably not out there, but
he's been very good.
Right, but he's been excellent. And then you've got Rob Gronkowski out there too, who's started to pick it up, and then Cameron Brate as well, who's a red zone target, had a touchdown in this last game, and then of course Logan Thomas, who he already has. But I would think about picking up Eric Ebron if you could. He's got
Ebron,
and then Gronkowski if he'd be my second one, but Robert Tonyan in a week if you could wait a week. Yeah, Tonyan would be a good pickup because Packers finally starting to use the tight end. I don't know if they like this. Tonyan, he's like the second coming of Mark Chmura. So,
well, he's got a close relationship with George Kittle too. So, I mean, he kind of has those George Kittle kind of vibes going on.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about him before the season, to be honest, Joe. I know they had Jay Sternberger, who's pretty good receiving tight end, but Tonyan is outplaying him, and that's why he's the guy to go and get.
Absolutely, and as I mentioned, we're talking about the Bucs tight ends. O.J. Howard out for the season, so both Gronk and Cameron Brate are going to be quality options.
Yeah,
Gronk's going to be involved a lot this week against the Bears. We'll talk about that later in my start sit, but definitely someone to keep an eye on. And Tooch, let's jump back to the quarterbacks on waivers. You got to place a claim for a quarterback. You got to replace Aaron Rodgers. You got to replace, Matthew Stafford this week. Justin Herbert has to be the top quarterback off the board, at least for me, because he's been so good and he looks so cool, calm, and collected. Somehow he's available in, I think I looked 45% of leagues.
Right. So long term, I think Herbert is a good pick. Now, long term, Daniel Jones, I think, is also a good pick. But Daniel Jones gives you that running dimension too, and his schedule's starting to open up a little bit. He's got a great schedule against the Cowboys this week. So if you just want to stream a guy for 1 week, I mean, Daniel Jones has got a cherry matchup this week. I mean, you could see him run for a touchdown and throw for 300 yards and a couple touchdowns. So right now, Daniel Jones looks pretty good for picking up. Teddy Bridgewater, long term, you might get some use on him. He's got some good weapons, and Christian McCaffrey will be back soon. So, and then for this week, Kirk Cousins has a killer matchup this week. So if you just want a guy for 1 week, you got to like Kirk Cousins. Now, they don't throw the ball as much. They're run first team with the Vikings. Definitely. Why wouldn't you when you have Dalvin Cook? Because he's awesome.
Absolutely.
But, I think I might put in Daniel Jones also has a fumbling problem, an interception problem. So you got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
But if you're looking, the thing at Herbert, we don't know if they're going to put Tyrod Taylor back in, and Herbert, of course, just lost Austin Eckler, who's probably him and Keenan Allen are his best offensive weapons. So Keenan Allen should really benefit from the loss of Eckler. And then Joshua Kelly, of course, is going to get more touches with Eckler out. Now, you can't go wrong. For me, I would pick up, if you're just thinking this week, Kirk Cousins or Daniel Jones.
Or Teddy Bridgewater, too,
Teddy Bridge's got a good matchup, too, yeah.
Finger-licking good matchup against against the Atlanta Falcons.
Yep.
So all those guys quality options on
Herbert's
waivers.
got a little tougher matchup on the road against the Saints.
Yeah, he does. Either way, there's so many good quarterbacks out there to help this week. Running back too, Tooch. There's been so many injuries. Dearness Johnson is going to be taken over as the secondary back for the Cleveland Browns behind Kareem Hunt, Tooch.
A nifty looking runner, Joe. Did you catch some of his play?
I did. He looks very good, and he's got a ton of energetic power.
Yes.
This is a guy that I think you got to own, especially with the fact that Hunt is banged up.
Yeah.
You got to expect this guy to have a lion's share.
A lot of touches. He had like 15 touches this past week.
So I love Johnson. He's I don't know about you, Tush, but he's my number one running back claim this week behind there's a 1 and a 1A. So I'll go with my 1A here.
He's my number one.
He's your one. I'm going to go with my 1A next. And that's Damian Harris for the Patriots. He got the lion's share in his first game back from IR. I do understand that the Patriots are a bit of a juggle in the backfield, but the way that they used him in this game, Tooch, proves to me that he's going to be the guy. And
he was a guy I targeted. I didn't get him in any drafts. I was thinking like I would throw like a 16th round pick and grab him, but people were grabbing him a little bit earlier and then dropping him because he didn't come through. So if I didn't pick him up because I just have roster spots. I agree that will be a good pickup. It's just that Bill Belichick hates fantasy football, Joe. He's going to try, he's trying to make you miss on Harris, but I like
but they're using him in a lot of different ways too. I think he's going to act as a receiving running back, kind of like James White, but I just like him going forward. And then
I would love for him to be the guy like Sony Michel was a couple years ago, well, they just fed him the ball, but Joshua Kelly, Justin Jackson, we talked about them. Kelly, I think, is the better one to own, but you could see them splitting time, and I think that's the way it's going to be. They're going to split. Then you might see Travis Homer be the lead back this week up in Seattle. So
you could. He very well could be. So he's definitely worth a pickup.
Yep.
And we'll quick hit through the rest of these two.
Yeah, let's do it.
We talked about Chase Edmonds, must own as a possibly taking over. Devontae Freeman, DeAndre Swift, and then Keyshawn Vaughn. All guys are looking very good, Tooch.
Yeah.
Devontae
and Wayne Gallman are splitting carries. And, of course, you've got Deion Lewis. So then that's a bit of a three-headed monster. I think Devontae Freeman is the best one of the three, and they'd be smart to start using him like, they would Saquon Barkley. He's a good receiver out of the backfield. Just don't know if they will. And then DeAndre Swift. There's no reason why the Lions shouldn't be used. He's on a bye this week, so if you're picking him up, you're stashing him. But there's no reason why they shouldn't start using Swift more. Your Lions probably aren't going anywhere. And in fact, once they're out of it, I think DeAndre Swift will be a great second running back for, probably latter half of this season. So if you can be patient and wait, that'll be a good pickup.
I'm with you, Tooch, and we'll quickly run through the wide receivers you can target.
Yeah.
T. Higgins looking great. Laviska Shenault also looking very good. Tim Patrick, Scotty Miller, Golden Tate, Cole Beasley, Greg Ward, Traquan Smith, McCole Hardman, Tooch, is a guy who looks very, very good.
Yeah.
He looks fast, man. He looks so fast.
Yep. He's the heir apparent to Tyreek Hill. If they decide to part ways with Tyreek Hill, it'll probably be in that Tyreek Hill. Although, Tyreek Hill's he's a rare bird. He just the change of direction and speed of Tyreek Hill is something that McCole Hardman just doesn't quite have. McCole Hardman's got blazing speed, but he just doesn't have that shiftiness like Tyreek Hill. So, yeah, some of these other guys, N'Keal Harry, Olamide Zacchaeus is the third string wide receiver on, or if Julio's out, he'll be the third receiver on the Falcons.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he looked pretty decent. Christian Kirk and Hunter Renfrow, Tooch.
Yep.
Two other good names. We mentioned Greg Ward. Alshon Jeffrey is a sneaky pickup, as well as Jeff Smith.
They got nobody else on the Jets, so everybody else is injured. I forget the guy's name. That's their main running back, the little guy, Jamison Crowder.
Yeah.
So Crowder's been in and out of lineup with injuries, and Jeff Smith has had to take over the lead. And then Denzel Mims, their high draft pick wide receiver, he's been out as well. And Brashad Perriman.
On IR. Yeah.
Yep. So Jeff Smith has been carrying that load. But, I mean, these are desperation plays, you know.
They are. There's just some –
a guy like T. Higgins, Laviska Shenault, Tim Patrick, Golden Tate, those four, even Cole Bezek, but those five are pretty much, you know, guys who are going to give you some kind of floor.
Yeah, your top claims this week for sure. And those just some of the waiver claims to look at this week before you go to bed tonight. Get those claims in, and we gotta run and sprint through the rest of the show here, Tooch. So.
Yeah,
we're going to touch on
questions from the chat room.
We already run through the questions we have for now. If you got more questions, put them in the chat, and we'll answer them for you live here on the show. But let's go into the Fantasy Gold games. So here we go. All right, Fantasy Gold, Vikings at Seahawks. There's going to be a lot of points, Tooch. Panthers at Falcons. I don't envision there being any defense in that game. Fire them all up. Jaguars at Texans, same thing. Defenses have been horrible. Bill O'Brien-less Texans, Tooch. I'm excited to see what happens. That was the breaking news this week. The GM/head coach of the Texans let go. So, bada boom, bada bang, he's gone.
We'll see what happens. Coach is who is the
Romeo Crennel.
Romeo Crennel. All right, very nice.
Yeah, so that's going to be exciting. Phillip Rivers, Tooch. I don't know why I said Phillip Rivers, but it's the Colts versus the Browns. It's not a fantasy gold game, but I do like what I see out of the Browns offense. Very excited out of them. Dolphins at 49ers, Tooch. That's a game that
could be high scoring.
I think it will be, and I really hope Raheem Mostert's come back for that one. So love that.
George Kittle exploded in that last game, and his first game back just decided to really announce his return with an exclamation point.
Yeah, right. He definitely did. And last but not least, Giants at Cowboys. You're firing every guy up that you can in that game.
There could be 100 points scored in this game. 90.
Bet the over, whatever it is. Bet the over.
Yeah.
And for our Patreon subscribers, we will be doing a special edition podcast talking about some of these lines on these games. And if you're going to make some of these bets, we'll talk about more fantasy and daily fantasy and stuff like that. So make sure you subscribe to the Bears Barroom Patreon, get a little extra for your money, and support us in what we do. So that'll be going live probably later this week. So we're excited about that. And Tooch, let's get to our starts and sits.
All right.
So let's go to quarterbacks.
We got plus matchups. So our plus matchups for this week are Teddy Bridgewater versus the Falcons, Kirk Gibson versus the Seahawks. Conversely, you have Russell Wilson versus the Vikings, but you're starting Russell anyways. But Gardner Minshew versus the Texans. Phillip Rivers.
I want to know who Kirk Gibson is, too. You mean Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins. What am I talking about here? Kirk Cousins versus the Seahawks. I think I said Gibson last time too when I was talking about quarterbacks.
You just got it stuck in your head. It's all good.
Yep. Phillip Rivers versus the Browns. The plus matchup.
Love that.
Justin Herbert versus the Saints has got a pretty good matchup.
Absolutely, man. And 49ers, if you're looking at the running backs too, you got to love any 49ers running back against that terrible Dolphins run defense. You got to go with your boy James Robinson has been lining it up. I love him against the Texans this week.
I would have put Jaguars running backs versus the Texans, but he's the only guy that's getting much play over there.
That's it.
He does it all.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus the Raiders. I mean, that's going to be dynamite. Surprisingly, Tooch, we got the Jets running backs on this list for the first time this year. going against the Cardinals, who Cardinals can't seem to stop anybody.
Yep.
And then David Johnson.
Yeah, he's looked okay. Better. I didn't expect anything out of Johnson this season. He hasn't played bad, Joe. I mean, I think you have him on a team or two. Disappointed?
I'm actually pleasantly surprised with what I've seen. I think he's going to turn it on now that he's going to have some good matchups. And now that his head coach is gone, I expect he's going to finally be used correctly.
Right on. Yeah, I'm a little
but we'll see.
Conservative approach with Romeo Cornell. Might see that.
Absolutely. And we got a couple questions we'll touch on real quick before we finish. Ron Rupp now wants to know, any concerns with Brady playing Thursday with such a short week? I'm not overly concerned, but I don't think he's going to throw 5 touchdowns this week. That's for sure. So he's definitely not one of my top plays.
And the Bears defense pretty good against the wide receivers. I mean, this doesn't look like. I mean, the Bears have looked like they're falling apart. They're in the midst of a breakup or fall apart mode. But we'll see. Yeah. Maybe they get it together on the short week. But defense, plays really good. And they're holding them, but the offense is putting up 3 points in 3 quarters. So
yeah, I've got no qualms with Brady on short rests. I think he's going to play well enough for them to win. But
I like the under in this game, though. I'll tell you that.
Well, absolutely. And we got one more, Tooch, before we move on. The Hound wants to know, I traded Tyler Lockett for Devontae Adams. Was that good? Yes, that's very good, Hound. Devontae Adams is a PPR machine. So
yeah, I think Adams, if as long as he's healthy, the rest of the season is going to outscore Lockett. I mean, Adams right now has got some ground to catch up, though, because Lockett hasn't been no slouch. But yeah,
he'll be fine. He'll come back healthy, and the Packers have a nice schedule.
Not only that, but I mean, you're getting Adams' bye out of the way. So
yeah, you don't got to worry about him sitting out unless he's hurt. And then continuing along with our plus matchups at wide receivers, Tooch.
Yep. You got the Vikings wide receivers versus the Seahawks, and the Vikings wide receivers look great last week. And you got conversely the Seahawks wide receivers versus the Vikings. So
that's again fantasy gold. You want to start both sides of that.
Yep.
You can't go wrong.
Yep.
Giants versus Cowboys. You're going to get all those wide receivers on both sides fired up.
Exactly. The Colts wide receivers versus the Browns, but Browns secondary, they're banged up, but the Colts really haven't established any kind of passing attack. T.Y. Hilton hasn't done much.
They have not, Tooch. This is the week that T.Y. Hilton wakes up.
I hope so. And I mean, the Colts would be wise to get Mo Alley Cox involved a little bit more, because that guy seems to make a lot of big plays.
They used a lot of Jack Doyle last week for some reason.
Trey Burton.
He
got most of the tight end snaps in that game.
There's a tight end backlog in that team, so
yeah,
it's kind of scary.
Trey Burton might be a bit. We didn't put him on our tight end waiver wire. That might be a pretty good pickup.
Maybe I can't get myself to pick him up because of how spotty he is with injuries.
How it went down with the Bears. Yeah,
that too.
Injury history has been disastrous. But yeah.
And then, of course, you're going to fire up your Patriots wide receivers against the Broncos, Tooch.
Yeah.
The sneaky name that you can get on waivers right now is Gunnar Olszewski. He's out there. He's a Wes Welker light kind of player. He had a couple catches in this game. I think especially once Cam Newton comes back, I think this is going to be a guy you're going to see a lot of. I'd pick him up now before he becomes a hot commodity. That's just my opinion. Right. We'll see what happens there. And tight ends, Tooch. Hunter Henry going against the Saints. You got to lick your chops at that.
Yeah, I agree. I like Hunter's matchup in this one, man.
And then any of the Panthers tight ends going against the Falcons. The Falcons can't defend anybody, let alone a tight end.
Right. Ian Thomas had a touchdown last game. He's a little banged up, though. I have to check and see if he's going to play. But that might be a good streaming tight end. But
I think he will be as long as he plays.
They gave up three touchdowns to Tanyan last night.
Yes,
so.
Yep, wide open too. And your guy Eric Ebron going against the Eagles.
Love it.
This is a great matchup for him.
Battle of Pennsylvania.
Yes, the Battle of Pittsburgh. And then the Rams, you got Tyler Higbee, who I thought was going to blow up last week. He crapped the bed. I think he really does it against the Washington football team this week.
Him or Gerald Everett. I mean, they're both running. I think Everett ran more routes than Higbee the last week, but we'll see.
Everett is available in majority of leagues, by the way, guys, too. So that's another guy you could pick up and toss a coin and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, the Colts tight ends. We just talked about them. Whether that's Mo Alley Cox, whether that's Jack Doyle, whether that's the aforementioned Trey Burton.
Right.
They could have a decent week, especially as a flyer.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I got that on the screen, but my fingers are roaming, Tooch. So
All right.
Pound, we gave you credit again for that trade. Let's look at it that way. But we're getting towards the tail end of the show, Tooch, which means we're at time for our starts of the week. So last week at quarterback, Tooch, I picked Joe Burrow versus the Jaguars. That was a miss. Sorry, guys. I really thought he was going to blow up.
Yep, I had Jared Goff versus the Giants. That was a miss too.
Yeah, we were 0 for 2 on quarterbacks, but you know what? The matchups were there. The play was not. So This week is different, though, Tooch. This week, I am taking Teddy Bridgewater versus the Falcons. I expect him to have a huge day, and he's available in majority of leagues.
Yeah, I'm taking Deshaun Watson versus the Jaguars. That's he's had a couple good matchups. Jaguars cornerbacks they're just average at best. So I like that for Deshaun. I think he's going to explode.
Yeah, and Miles Jack questionable for that game. The powerful middle linebacker. If he does not play, I think that the Jaguars are going to get smoked. But Tooch, let's move into our running backs start of the week. Last week, we both missed again. I had Darrell Henderson against the Giants. That was a big miss.
Yeah. I had Kenyon Drake versus the Panthers. That was also a big miss. So,
we're going to turn it around, though, this week, too. So this week, I'm going to go with Ronald Jones against the Bears. The Bears cannot stop the run. The Bears' defense has looked horrendous, in my opinion, aside from some of the secondary play, which has been pretty good. But that run, I think Ronald Jones, especially with Leonard Fournette possibly being out of this game, Ronald Jones is a quality start against the Bears.
Yeah, I picked him a couple of weeks ago, I think, for our start sitting on the tailgate show, and it ended up being Leonard Fournette getting all the carries. But I knew that eventually Ronald Jones would be, a guy that they would feed. And sounds like a Thursday night game. Sounds like as good a game as any. So my pick for running back is Devontae Freeman versus the Cowboys. I think there's going to be just a lot of offensive plays run. I think he's going to get 15 to 20 touches and catch some passes, add in some yards on the ground, maybe even score a touchdown on the ground. So,
absolutely, brother, and you can't turn away from some of those numbers. And wide receiver last week too. Who was your pick last week for wide receiver?
Well, I had Marcus Valdes-Scantling on the Packers with both Alan Lazard and Devontae Adams out, and that was a miss. Go figure, Joe.
What are you going to do, man? You can't win them all. But I hit last week at wide receiver.
Yeah,
I told people to fire up CD Lamb versus the Browns, and he had a good day. 5 catches. He put up, at least in our scoring league, he put up 30 points in fantasy. So he can't go wrong there. I mean, I think he had two receiving touchdowns in that game.
Big hit there. So.
But what about this week, Tooch? Who's your pick this week at wide receiver?
Well, I'm going to go with Golden Tate versus the Cowboys. I think we should finally see, Golden Tate come back to form.
I'm with you, man. I think so too. And then my pick for this week is Justin Jefferson going against that Seahawks secondary. The kid had only 4 catches last week, but he was 102 yards. I mean, I love what I'm seeing out of Justin Jefferson. This kid, as we talked about last week, was the most NFL-ready receiver in this draft. And I think you're seeing it pay off. So
he's showing it. He understands route concepts very well, and the Vikings aren't a pass first team, but they're starting to trend towards getting their wide receivers involved in this game plans, which is the run game's opening up the pass, and the pass is starting to open up the run. So that's what you want. They're becoming balanced, and they have weapons on both of those aspects, the run game and the pass game.
They do.
They just had to put it together. They've had some tough games to start the season, the Vikings, and of course their defense has been banged up, and they've had no pass rush. So
they have not. It's been bad. And let's move on to tight end, Tooch. You did good last week at tight end. I did not. I picked Tyler Higbee versus the Giants. He shit his pants there. But who do you have? You last week you had a good pick at tight end.
I had TJ Hawkinson, who had a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. Didn't catch many balls, but we'll take those 9 points, and a couple catches. I think it was like 11 or 12 points. So double digits for your tight end is a win.
Absolutely, brother. And my start this week at tight end, I'm going to go with Rob Gronkowski going against the Bears on Thursday night. He's a mismatch. I mean, he's a big target for Tom, especially in the red zone now with O.J. Howard out for the season. And we all know how the Bears have done against big targets. Not great.
Yeah. The tight ends picked us apart in that last game. So, you had all three of the Colts tight ends, catching passes and making plays. So we'll see if the Bucs were paying attention to the Colts game script. So I think that's a good pick. And I've got Eric Ebron versus the Eagles. I like that matchup, and I think you're going to see Ebron start to emerge. It might be a top 12 tight end the rest of the season. He's got a great schedule. He's got some really good matchups coming up. So
he does.
They've already had their bye, Joe.
Yeah, the unexpected bye, but there you go. Chris Boswell's a guy, if you need a kicker, he doesn't have a bye the rest of the way. So think about that as well.
Right on.
But let's go to our sit of the week, Tooch. Who's a guy that you are keeping on the bench no matter what?
Well, I'm going with Kenyon Drake, who appears to be banged up. I think this is the week you can sit Kenyon now and feel confident. I don't think you're going to see Kenyon Drake back until maybe the latter half of the season. He just looks hurt. He looks slow, and the offensive line is garbage. I think the only guy who could run behind that offensive line is Chase Edmonds, and the coaching staff just is not committed to the run. So I think Kenyon Drake is a sit versus the Jets. I know the Jets have had a few big plays, run plays against them, but their run defense isn't terrible. So that's why I'm going to sit Kenyon Drake this week.
Absolutely, brother. And my sit of the week is Zach Ertz against the Steelers. Ertz looks slow. He looks like he's just not there mentally. I don't know what it is, but Ertz to me just looks like he's lost a step. And you pair that with the fact that he's going up against a really tough Steelers defense that's coming off of an unexpected bye. You had an extra week to prepare for you, and they're really good against the tight end. You gotta bench Zach Ertz.
I'm benching him. If you drafted Zach Ertz in like the 5th round, 4th round, 6th round, somewhere around there, and man, you got to be disappointed. You've seen Dallas Goedert get most of the play here for the Eagles tight ends. Even with Goedert out, Zach Ertz still isn't making plays. He looks like he can't get open anymore. Maybe he's hurt as well. I think it's a great call.
Absolutely, Tooch. And let's go to our super sleepers of the week, Tooch. Last week, we both swung and missed with the super sleeper, but what are you going to do? I took Brandon Ayuk last week. That's right. He did score, didn't he?
He scored on a run. Yep.
He didn't do much else, but he scored a touchdown on a weird run. Did you see him vault over that guy?
We'll take it. Yeah, we'll take it. Yep.
So I hit Brandon Ayuk as a super sleeper, Tooch. I was with you on yours, but I don't know what happened.
Sleeper scoring a touchdown is a hit.
That's true.
Preston Williams was a super sleeper versus every other team. Gesicki and Preston Williams did nothing against the Seahawks, so it was all Devontae Parker. So they
a banged up Devontae Parker too.
Banged up Devontae Parker, and Fitzpatrick was off. He had a bad game. It just didn't work out at all for the Dolphins last week. So that was a miss for me with Preston Williams.
So this week, Tooch, our super sleeper picks. I'm going to go with Laviska Shenault going up against the Texans. As long as he plays in that game, I know he's questionable, but he's looked really good, really explosive, and that Houston secondary is horrendous. Fire up Laviska Shenault. You will not regret it.
I like it. I hope he's healthy. He's a little banged up, but boy, he looks good. And then my super sleeper, my desperation play is Zach Pascal, wide receiver on the Colts, who looked pretty good against the Bears. Looks like the one guy who can get open on the Colts. So I know Joe likes T.Y. Hilton this week. That's probably a good play as well versus the Browns. And that defense on the Colts is pretty darn good. So hopefully the Colts have more chances to throw the ball this week. But I expect they'll be using their tight ends as well. But wide receivers versus the Browns is a plus matchup.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And we covered a lot of ground tonight, Tooch. We covered bye weeks. We covered injuries. We covered COVID. We covered waivers. We're giving you everything you need every single week to win your fantasy matchup, or at least remain competitive if you're out of it. But at this point, you're not out of it yet. You don't sing to the fat lady. I messed that up. It's not over until the fat lady sings. Unless you're in the guillotine league and you get chopped like Tooch did.
Oh, man, I was having a lot of fun in that league too. It's just, man.
I'm so bummed that you're out, man.
Yeah, I mean, I got to wait till next year, but, I highly recommend doing it. But if you have one bad week, you're gone. If you make one wrong move on a bad week, you're definitely gone. So, I mean, you can have a bad week and maybe survive, but you have a bad week and make one wrong move, you're toast. And that's what happened to me. I mean, I had Kenyon Drake, Tyler Higbee, and A.J. Green, and they all did nothing, and I got smoked. So I had a good roster too. I just couldn't. None of my guys really showed up. So
you have a great roster. I'm looking forward to bidding on it this week.
Yeah, definitely. I have some good players out there, so it'll be some fun.
And we covered so much ground on the show, Tooch. We want to thank everyone that tuned in throughout the course of the show, especially everyone that's been active in the chat. We got Adam Sham, the Gaines Report, Kessick III, Aldo Gandia, Logan Lima, Norm Larson, Izzy 1972, Ron Ruppnow, Bernie D'Amico La Papa, and of course the Hound, who I'm probably looking for Aria right now, but we appreciate you tuning in. had to drop that in there.
Yeah.
But huge thank you to everyone for watching the show. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Aldo Gandia, the owner and operator of the Barroom Network. It's going to take me some time to get used to that. Thank you, Aldo, for letting us do this every single week. Make sure you guys all tune into all the different shows on the Barroom Network podcast stream. Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. And we just appreciate your support. And then I finally figured it out. I got to thank this guy over here, John Santucci, the Tooch, for joining me every week, talking fantasy and having fun. I really appreciate you always, my brother.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. Remember, there's a lot of research that Joe and I do that goes into the show every week. So watching, games as much as we can, looking at the stats, looking at the matchups, looking at player performance, and it's a labor of love.
It's a labor of love, and a way you could support us is the Barroom Network swag shop is now open. So you can buy a Fantasy Football Goon t-shirt. You can buy a Sharpshooters, a Barroom Network shirt. It helps support us and keeps us doing what we're doing. And then you could also subscribe to the Bears Barroom, the Barroom Network Patreon, which is going to be going live probably later this week or early next. So we just appreciate you supporting us any way that you can. But most of all, we appreciate you tuning in. So if you can't give anything, we just appreciate you tuning in. We love all of our listeners. And we love most of all, Tooch, fantasy football.
Absolutely.
It's been a great week. May the odds be ever in your favor. And you got Bears Buccaneers on Thursday night, Tooch. That's going to be a good one.
Go Bears.
Go fantasy. And on that note, guys, we'll catch you next week. Thanks for tuning into the Fantasy Football Goon Show. I'm Joe Mandel, the Goon. This guy over here is John Santucci, the Tooch.
And
we'll catch you guys. and we're phoning home now. We're just touching fingers, and it just got really weird. There we go. Yeah, it's really weird. Anyway, have a great night, guys. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys on the show next week. And win your matchups, baby. Go take that win home.